happens. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 290 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us on a beautiful Thursday evening here in the Chicago area. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. After you do that, hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will rise, and smash, and I mean smash, that like button. That will help send everyone on YouTube to our channel. You can follow me on Twitter on my name tag at HKravitz. And scrolling on the bottom of the screen, you'll see my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, for any questions, concerns, cheers, complaints, or whatever you'd like to do. You can listen to us here on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We have power picks. We just had a few people buy them today. Thank you for doing that. They were great in 2022. They're very good once again here in 2023. And we've got big meets coming up with Keeneland, Santa Anita. Now is the time to purchase your power picks. Of course, Breeders' Cup, winning your in races, and then the Breeders' Cup after that. So please look into the power picks. Look below the video player for information about our power picks. And then, of course, we have a fantastic website as well, hhhracingpodcast.com. A lot of new things on there, a lot of exciting information on our website, some great pictures, stories, horses that have won for us. It's just a great website. Check it out, hhhracingpodcast.com. So tonight, two things going on tonight. First, we're going to have Darren Rodgers on. He's the Senior Director of Media Services at Churchill Downs. He's going to be here to talk about the exciting fall meet at Churchill Downs and all the exciting things going on, from building, construction going on, great races. Kentucky Derby points have changed. HISA update. There's so many things to talk about with Darren Rodgers, who will be on here in just a few minutes from Churchill Downs. And then we're going to handicap a fantastic Pick 5 at Woodbine. It's Woodbine Mile Day. They have three grade ones, all winning your ins for the Breeders' Cup. We're going to be talking about that within the Pick 5 sequence as well, races 6 through 10. And to help me do all that, let me bring on my fantastic co-host. First, I'm assuming buckling down from a incoming hurricane that is offshore, but might cause some issues. We'll find out, from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran. And from the East Coast of Maryland, he ain't afraid of no hurricanes. That's way offshore. He's got no worries. Let's bring him on, Mr. Pete Visco. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
Good. What's up, fellas?
Terrific.
I'm doing great. Doing well. Guys, a few quick things. We're going to wait for Darren Rodgers, who should be on hopefully any minute. He'll be in the background soon, we're hoping. Churchill Downs actually going on right now. Some bombs. Guys, I don't know if anyone really cares, but I care. I had a 9-1 and a 23-1 to start my pick 4.
Oh, beautiful.
So, yeah, I've got my phone. I might be slightly they got 2 more races left, so I just play a little S&G, so to speak, pick 4, if you know what I mean. And I don't know, see if we can get it. Guys, we're going to talk about, as I said, Churchill, and then we're going to talk about Woodbine. Churchill's only a 14-day meet, guys, but they've got big stakes. And I thought the Ben and Boozin guys did a great job last night covering the big card on Saturday. They've got the first Derby points are coming in on Saturday with the Iroquois and the Pocahontas. I thought 2 tough races, and then we got some tough races to cover Woodbine also on Saturday, mainly because we don't know who the hell's going to be running in those races.
Yeah, it doesn't help when half the field is in both races, especially the good horses.
Paul, also looks like for sure, just to get into some New York news, it looks like for sure that the next 2 Belmonts are going to be run at Saratoga. It appears that way. I know people in Saratoga are very excited about it looks like a 1-week meet in June, not meet, but a 1-week
Festival,
they're going to call it. And I'm assuming the same thing's going to happen also in June of 25 also, it looks like.
Yeah, I think the original plan was 25, 26, but things at Belmont are going, I guess, ahead of schedule. And, the key point is not to have to stop construction at Belmont, for a couple of months for that spring meet and then start back up. So with staying at Aqueduct and going to Saratoga, Belmont will go on uninterrupted. And I actually booked a hotel room a little outside of town just as an insurance policy. Always hope to be in town, but there are several conferences going on that week at the hotels in town. So it's kind of hotel insanity. But
I heard the prices might be a little bit high that week, from what I understand.
They're actually higher than Travers Week, Howard.
Well, that's what I've heard. That's why I've got Matt Miller, line one. Matt Miller.
I will be. I'm booking some barn space on the Oklahoma for us.
Okay, that's fine. I might be happy to.
Great.
I need to call Ray. Hey, Ray, you got his barn, his stall 23 available in your barn. I might just hang out there.
Plenty of room.
Guys, let's see who's here. First of all, Sylvain from Canada, Bonsoir, I believe is right. That's how you say that. Hello, Sylvain. We got Michael Osen is here. He's got he's putting some Woodbine Pick 5 tickets already up.
Nice.
Great. Michael, thanks for joining the show. Look who's here. Todd Harmon. Some of you might be wondering, who's Todd Harmon? It was a pleasure to meet you and Matt last Saturday at Kentucky Downs. I always enjoy your show. Todd, how you doing? Todd, I met Todd Harmon and his friend at Kentucky Downs along with Matt Bernier. I was talking to Matt, and of course, Noah was with me. And guys, it's sort of funny. Todd didn't quite notice that Matt was next to me and just came up to me as I was talking to Matt and said, "Hi, Howard," and just sort of completely didn't realize, or it was sort of funny because I was talking to Matt. He's like, "Oh, hi, Matt Bernier." So it was sort of weird and surreal on my part. But anyway, Todd, good to see you again. You also met Kyle at Horseshoe Guys, so he's met some of the crew as well. Sylvain also mentioned there's a Woodbine contest as well. We got Tom Espinoza here. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to the show. Pick some winners. Look who's here. The newest full-time employee, Noah Maher. Noah, what's going on? He met Todd as well. Matt Miller, your travel agent, is here too. Thanks, Matt. June 24. We better start looking into that if we're going to the Belmont. All right, guys. So here's what we're going to do because I don't see Darren yet. I actually was unintentional. I forgot they had a Twilight meet, but he didn't say that he couldn't come on or there'd be an issue. So I'm going to talk. Here we go, guys. Darren's coming on right now in the background there. So perfect timing here. We're going to bring on Darren. We're going to talk about in a minute Churchill Downs. Like I said, it's a 14-day meet. They're going to be running Thursday through Sunday. They also run Wednesday through Sunday. So they're going to add Wednesdays the last 2 weeks, guys. And then, of course, this Saturday, they've got the Pocahontas and the Iroquois. I don't know if you guys heard, but they're changing the Derby points. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
Paul, do you want to give the brief? We can ask Darren as well.
I think let's have Darren.
We'll have Darren talk about it. Okay. Yeah. Stephen Scott is here. Stephen Scott, what do you have in the last two legs of the pick four? I have double. Well, you know what, Stephen? I'm single to the 9 also. How about that? I've got, here we go, in the middle of the show here. I'm 5 by 1. I've got 4, 5, 7, 9, 14, Scott. 4, 5, 7, 9, 14. And I'm also single to the 9 on the end, just to let you know. Thanks for asking, Stephen. All right, so Darren's having some tech issues in the background, guys. So anyway, I'll keep talking about Churchill just for a little bit until he comes on. On September 30th, they have the Lucas Classic, which is a grade 2. That's for older horses. Basically a prep for the Classic, guys, for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And then they have the ACAC, which is a grade 3 1-mile dirt race, which is the win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Mile. So that's on September 30th at Churchill. We'll have Darren talk about the points. I was going to try to get in touch. I actually don't have his phone number, guys. So hopefully he'll be able to figure out the tech situation in the background there. They're also making some capital improvements. I don't know if do you guys see what the paddock's going to look like next year?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Let me bring that up because I have that right here on screen. Let me present that so everyone can see. I'll go ahead and share my screen. So they're working on a paddock. It's not quite ready yet, but wow, guys. Now, Paul, you and I were there. Paul, you and I were there for the first time for the Derby last year. It sure as hell didn't look like that.
No, there was a temporary paddock before the current temporary paddock, I believe. But yeah, that's spectacular. Obviously, a lot of prime seating around there. You know, if you're into similar to Gulfstream, except much more expansive, where Gulfstream, has the seats right around the paddock. You see the horses being saddled, and then you watch the race on TV. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's going to be unbelievable, and they're going to enter. If you see the arrow, I think that's where they're going to enter the track right through there because it goes like underneath, I believe, and there's just incredible seating. They put the final one of the beams on. One of the final beams. They got a lot to do in the interior and whatnot, but it's going to be quite tremendous, guys, there for sure. Let's see what else. I was going to show him some. Well, I'm going to wait for Darren to come on, but of course, we want to thank Churchill Downs greatly for giving us media credentials last year, as we were an accredited national organization. We hope that's going to be for years to come as well. And I just see in the back, you folks at home can't see, but Darren is trying to work out the kinks in the background. So hopefully he'll be able to work that out with his tech stuff. And then there's HISA, guys, which we're gonna bring up. Pete and Paul, I'm assuming you looked into that a little bit or found out. They didn't find any direct correlation between the deaths and what's going on. But Pete, what they are going to do is they're going to have more frequent tracking of the services. They're also not going to allow certain horses that do poorly consistently to run and a whole bunch of things. So Churchill is working with HISA directly, and they're trying to improve things. Obviously, we don't want to repeat what happened at Saratoga or at Churchill during Derby week.
No, but that was funny because that's not funny, I should say. But we talked about it when we did our show, whenever that was last week or the post Travers, I think, where that's the hard thing about this is it's never really just one answer. So when you're trying to solve problems and trying to troubleshoot problems, there's a multitude of reasons why a horse could break down, and it's hard to pinpoint unless you have. You have to take exhaustive looks at records and breeding and, like we talked about, rain, track condition, when was the last time they worked, when was the last time they ran, what drugs are they on. There's such a combination of factors that could lead to it. You're never really going to know unless it was like a hole in the ground. You're not going to know exactly what caused it, but you can look at what contributing factors or consistent factors were on the day of or for the horses, and then see if it says here's a pattern. Let's see if there's some rules we could put in place to sort of inhibit that pattern from happening again. I think that's all you could really do. Right, Paul? I know you probably thought about it.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this, and we were at Churchill. I was out there in the morning, and everyone wants answers, and I think I've said it on the show many times. You might get to a point where you just there is no good answer. You can't live on, well, we hope to get lucky. I get it. As you said, Pete, I think exhaustive is the right word, but we're now 4 months out from that Derby week, and they've done a fairly exhaustive bit of research, and what they've come up with is no smoking gun, to use the words of HISA.
Yes.
Del Mar just completed a meet with 100% equine and human safety. Okay.
About that.
And the industry is hesitant to promote that because they figure, well, there's a fatality coming. But you know what? There is a fatality coming, God forbid. And I'll tell you one thing I read this week. And look, I'm a HISA advocate. I understand the need for it. I'm not one of those. I think there are some obstructionists going on. I think Lisa Lazarus is very well intentioned, but I hope she was misquoted or misparaphrased when attributed to her was we want to get to a point with 0 fatalities, okay? Because that is an impossibility.
No.
Okay, and it is damaging to say that's what we want to do, because we can't do that.
Yeah,
Now,
if you
can
set
we
that
have
as the bar, you can never meet it, and then you just
can
set
we have a
yourself up
meet
to failure.
like Del Mar? God love them. Yes. Can we, Santa Anita 5 years ago, was it, with 4 years, whatever it was in the same situation as Churchill this spring and Saratoga this summer. And thank God, Santa Anita, since then, things have gone much better. I suspect things will go much better at Churchill this fall and when they come back next year. And, we don't want to get into the weeds, but the Saratoga meet statistically was not that anomalous. The problem was there were two extremely high-profile, catastrophic injuries in the two biggest days, right in front of the stands, and blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Doesn't make it right. I'm just saying, the key here is not to overreact. It's to react, but not overreact. And let's look into synthetic. Yes. But I'm hearing people say we have to go to 100% synthetic. It's a lot safer. That's an overreaction, folks. Let's do the research. And if we go to synthetic, I'm sure it'll be done better than last time, because it was an abject failure the last time. So so anyway, there's a lot going on. And, I feel for the people that are in the trenches, like Darren, like Heisa. I think they need our support.
Steven, I don't know the number, but I can tell you it's a hell of a lot less than here. Asia is fantastic. They have some, but very, very few. Michael Austin agrees with you. Gizmo's like, forget about the horse racing. He said, listen, I'll tell you what, if you're a fan of the Bears or some other teams, we definitely need NFL winners. That's for sure. Last thing I want to mention, guys, and Darren might be having some issues, guys. And so if we don't have Darren on tonight, we will definitely have him on. He's a fantastic guy. I had a chance to meet him. Paul, I'm assuming you met him at the Derby last year.
Yes, well. I did. Yep.
He does yeoman's. He does yeoman's work there as well. So if he's not on tonight, guys, we'll get him on very soon. There was one other thing I wanted to mention. I'm drawing a huge blank now. Okay, I don't even know what it is. All right. Oh yeah.
Well,
sorry.
Howard, I do have the Derby. Briefly, the Derby points chart. I think what you were going to talk about is there's just more variety in the scoring. I think that's one of the changes you were going to talk about. I assume
up second place mainly. They bumped up second place and made second place more points is the main thing. Okay, let me just real quick. So what I'm showing here, I've stressed workouts on this show. I don't know if you guys watch XBTV or watch workouts, or some people care about workouts sometimes. Some people don't. I get it. I'm much more interested in workouts as an owner now, and for many, and as a handicapper. You can watch, guys, Churchill workouts or workouts in Kentucky. And this is going to be very important, Pete and Paul, for the Breeders' Cup, because there are going to be horses that are going to be training in Kentucky. So let me just make this full screen for everyone. This is free for everyone. It's a little bit hard to see at the top, but it's KentuckyBred.org. Kentucky Bred, you spell it out. Let me just put this on screen. You just spell out the word Kentucky Bred, one word, .org/workout. And all these videos come up, guys, and these are workouts you can watch at Churchill. So again, Kentucky Bred, one word, KentuckyBred.org/workout. So I would highly recommend, as I take that off the screen, guys, I highly recommend people watch the workouts if they're available and you're not watching, especially in main races, guys. I mean, what are we doing? There's a lot of 2-year-old races running at Churchill during this 14-day meet, Pete. So if you want to get an idea of how these horses work and you're one of those visual handicappers, you'd be silly not to look at these workouts if you have time to do it.
Yeah, it's nice having them organized in a way that it's easy to access and a place everyone can see them. I think that's the complaint sometimes. So XBTV does a good job, but if there's another resource for it, beautiful.
All right, guys, let's go ahead on to we'll get Darren. We'll give you updates on Darren Rodgers if he's able to log on. I don't have his phone number, and if he's tried to call me, it hasn't happened. So we'll get Darren Rodgers on from Churchill Downs. I apologize to everyone who was waiting for him or wanted to ask them questions. Believe me, let's have no conspiracy, Paul. Okay, he's not on for some. He doesn't want to come on, guys. He's a great guy. He's going to come on. We just have some tech issues on his end. We'll get those all worked out. Let's just go to the pick 5 now. Woodbine pick 5 Saturday, guys. Race 6 is where it starts. They've got 3 grade 1s. 2 all win-in you're-ins for the Breeders' Cup, 2 for the 2-year-olds, and 1 the Woodbine Mile for the older males, going, of course, a mile on the turf. But let's go ahead and I'll share my screen, and let's go ahead and bring up the entries, guys, for the first leg as I go full screen. All right, here we go. First leg, and Peter, Paul, either one of you can talk about the situation with the cross entries. But the first race is race 6. It's about 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's $500,000. This is for the boys. It is a win and you're in for the 2-year-old juvenile turf. It's a field of 11 as of now. And when you look at these trainer situations, it's sort of crazy. You've got 5 Cassies and 3 Kevin Attards that are in the main body of the field, but we don't know exactly who's going to go in where, because some of these horses are going in race 8 with the girls. Paul, do you have any intel or anything you want to tell people about which horses? There's 4 horses. I'm going to leave this on the screen, Paul. Let me bring us on. There's 4 horses that are cross-entered, Paul.
I tried Howard through Twitter today, and
I saw Ron Gurking. We didn't get back to us.
Yeah. So the bottom line is there are 4 horses entered in both the summer, which is for 2-year-olds,
right,
males presumably,
right,
and the Natalma 2 race later, which is for 2-year-old fillies. So in effect, there are 4 fillies entered against the boys. You would have to think not all 4 are going to run, and you get to my convoluted pick 5 ticket, it'll give you a headache, as I'm sure it already did. And as you say, with Cassie and Kevin Attard having 8 out of the 11 here, Howard, is it, I think?
Yes.
And then in the 8th, pretty much the same deal. There's 1 a Cassie and a Tard, a Cassie, 3 Cassies.
There's I've got it on the
Cassie,
screen.
4 and
Cassies,
2, and 2
4 Cassies
Attards.
and 3 Attards. I got it on the screen there also.
Yeah,
but anyway.
but
yeah.
the one thing that the X factor is in the filly race, there's a Godolphin. So that might help make some decisions, and we'll talk about an unbelievable stat when we get to that race.
Okay,
but no, so I don't know. I think, and I understand the trainers have the right to do it, and I get it. I think in a case like this, 48 hours out, they should be made to declare. Once the PPs are out, everyone's had them for a few days. The numbers are drawn. I think it's reasonable to say we want to know 48 hours out so we don't give people like Pete and Paul and Howard a headache.
Yeah, I don't know when they have to declare. I don't know the politics behind. I don't know.
That day.
Okay, so I mean it's a little silly, but anyway, the 4 horses are Bolt Honore, Erosa, Go with Gusto, and Golden Canary. I'm going to repeat those for everyone at home. Again, these 4 horses might run here against the boys, or they could run against their own sex in race 8. Again, Bolt Honore, Erosa, Go with Gusto, and Golden Canary are the 4 horses. So we're going to handicap this race as for what we see, guys. I mean, that's all we can do. So let me put on the screen. I was waiting to put the banners on the screen, guys, because I didn't want people to be misled. So obviously what you're going to see on the screen right now, these could be completely different, everyone. We don't know who's exactly going to be in. So bear with us with our handicapping, but we can still talk about the race quite a bit in detail and talk about these horses. And I thought both races 6 and 8, guys, are very, very difficult. So let's go ahead right now to race 6. I'm going to go on the screen, and here's the PPs, and I believe those are them, right? Hold on. No, I've been having, again, refreshing issues, guys. Oh, that is right. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Race 6. Okay. Let me go full screen here. Let me do this here, and we're ready to go. Okay. Pete, let's go to you first. Assuming the race is held together, you're going to go with the 7, Erosa. Now, Erosa is a filly that is cross-entered. She was very impressive in the Catch a Glimpse. And I want to mention, everyone, that on August 20th, there were 2 races. The Catch a Glimpse, and there was another stake race, the Soaring Free right here. This one was for the boys, I believe. And the Catch a Glimpse, yes, for the girls. And it should be noted that the Catch a Glimpse finished in 114.68. And the boys race whereas the Soaring Free finished at 115.47. That is a somewhat almost a second difference for people that want to pay attention to those kind of things, Pete. You're going to go with the filly here against the boys if she runs.
Yeah, and if you equate it to buyers, which is easy for people to understand, the winner got an 85 on Erosa. You see, got the 85, and Golden Canary got an 80. So the two winners happen to be in the race, so you can compare them from a figure perspective too. Yeah, actually, it's funny. I have Erosa winning both races, the 6th and the 8th. So whichever one she goes in, I'm taking her. I just thought this is such a tough field, though. If you look at when you get to the pick fives, I'm about 97 deep in both legs. So I feel like these races are wide open because there's just been some relatively impressive performances. And this one, I think she had one in her last out. She was sort of boxed in. She waited to get room. I mean, she was on the rail, so it wasn't like she had the worst trip, but she was stuck. She couldn't get through and then powered through and sort of exploded in the lane, kicked away. Again, you never know exactly how the horses behind are going to perform. Some of them are running, some of them we'll see, and actually in some other races. I just thought she was really impressive, and she's one that you put on the turf, supremely improved. I mean, went from running really poorly on the synthetic to being, absolutely done nothing wrong on the turf, one on the front end, one from off the pace. I think the pedigree shows a nice mix of route and sprint. So you should see some quickness and you should see the ability to handle this extra distance. So picks up Johnny V, which I always like. So there's really just a lot to like about her. It just depends on what race she goes in.
I'll show the stretch really quick here. Erosa is the 9 and did everything well, Pete. And, I think this was pretty visually impressive. She's in behind there in the blue and yellow and does get a very good trip, although she had to wait right there. We can see PM. She's got a handful. She did have to wait, and then the inside opened up. I would consider that a pretty darn good trip, though. But she did show some patience there to come through on the inside.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes we always talk about it. Like we sometimes penalize horses for getting good trips, but some horses just work out good trips and that's what they do. So I don't think
we've had a conversation about that situation lately, haven't we?
We have. And I mean, I think
Arcangelo, I believe.
Well, it's also the same where sometimes you look at a bad trip and you make the assumption that because a horse got a bad trip that they would have finished better, and so it's a lot of it's guesswork on both sides, but some good horses they have the ability to work out trips. And the thing you like is in her third start, whether it was a good trip or not, she still had to overcome a little bit. She did get stopped, she did get blocked, and then still had to come through on the rail, which isn't always easy for younger horses.
No. By the way, Red Run, the 14, who got into the Churchill race, just won, who's run at some tough races recently, and I did have that one, and that was 5-1. So I'm alive to
That's a nice big four.
I can get home to the 9. We'll see. Paul, you're going with the 2. You're going with the 2 Carson's Run, and I've got mad love and respect for these connections. Christophe Clement, Dylan Davis. What do you like about this one, who just missed with anticipation at Saratoga last time?
Yeah, lost to a Bill Mott filly. That's when Bill Mott won the filly race. Filly beat the boys one day, and then a boy beat another filly beat the girls the next day. I thought that was a good race. I think the horse that beat him, Galabrand, the Mott filly I was referring to, is a legitimate horse. Put up a good buyer. Pete, it's interesting. We talked about that 7. I put in my notes on my screen, from tough trip to dream trip. It looked like it was going to be a horrendous trip. And then, as Howard pointed out, once the rail opened, it was really good. But back to this horse, there's a story here. And no, I did not pick the horse because it's named for a young man who has the same syndrome as Cody Dorman, although it's not going to make me any less enthusiastic. It's a college classmate of Terry Finley from West Point, whose son is named Carson. Carson has Wolf-Hirschhorn syndrome, which is what Cody has.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right here, by the way, this is Carson's Run, the 8.
And you can see his head's cocked a little bit. He's in tight here. I just think that's he ran pretty well. And as I say, I think just got outrun by what I think is going to be a pretty good filly who had a better trip. So anyway, I took the thought out of it with all the cross-entered horses, Howard, and didn't pick any of them on top in either race.
Okay. I think that horse definitely has a shot. I'm spreading big time. Guys, when I saw the morning lines, I was surprised and frankly happy surprised. I think number 5, Go With Gusto's got a shot, guys. I don't understand this 20-1. This is a horse that I am extremely interested in. I'll tell you what I like about this horse, guys, a lot. I really like the fact this horse has won at this distance already and has done it 2 turns, which is another reason to like Carson Run, Paul. I just prefer horses, guys, that have run a distance over ones that have run 6.5. And Pete, your horse can absolutely win. I think it's a good pick and all that. I just, given an option, I'd rather have a horse that's won. And I like the fact this horse has actually won 2 turns. And I'm just going to show very quickly the stretch run. I know that horse got a 62, but you know what, guys? We've seen these 2-year-olds can improve tremendously in their second start. Go With Gusto is the 10 here. And I thought this horse was really professional. He's on the inside. He did get a nice trip on the inside, but, he has to weave through horses a little bit. And right here, if you thought he was going to win from here, I think you'd be surprised. But he had to this is right there. That's a pretty athletic move. He might have bothered the 9, but he can get taken down. And once he got to the outside, guys, this is an explosion.
He actually did get taken down. He did get taken down. Yeah.
Oh,
or
she.
That was.
She.
Yeah, she did.
Okay. Wow. I feel like an idiot. Okay. Why didn't I see that?
It's a little bit on the bottom.
It's
in a funny spot. Yeah. It's in a funny spot. Yeah.
Well, I still like her anyway.
But it was funny because I thought the takedown didn't make much sense because I didn't think the horse that she interfered with really had much of a shot.
Yeah.
But maybe we had a shot at placing, which is what I assume the decision was. But I'm with you. Not to take anything away. I had this horse as an A too. This is an A horse for me. Just didn't make my top 3. But I really like this horse at the price. I agree with you. The buyers are first-time starters. The buyers are the difference between the first and the second. They can be crazy. They can easily be a 20-point swing.
Yeah,
we've seen
question. It so many times, guys. Yeah. I just, that's something I've really worked on. I'd say in this last 6 months. These low buyers that some of these 2-year-olds get mean nothing to me. I mean, they can explode up. There's a horse that won at Del Mar last week, guys, in the 2-year-old male race. I got like a 48 first time out and then got like a 72 next time. I mean, these 2-year-olds can improve tremendously. And the fact that she was DQ'd means nothing. But, Paul, it is Barber and Rosario and Cassie. There's no way. I don't know how the field's going to look, but there's no way this horse is 20-1. I think it's going to be more like 10-1, but I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, and I didn't have the odds. We talk about this all the time. I didn't have the odds when I looked, but I would agree with you that this horse, Rosario taking over and Cassie on a big day and Barbara. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. I don't know if you're right about the horse winning, but you're 100% right about the odds.
By the way, Cassie has a bunch in here and later in the other one. Second-time starters in graded stakes. Cassie's 1 for 24. That was just the other one stat I dug up but I mean, he's got half the field, so that might not matter. Confidence. That might not matter though in a race where he's got, I think, 3 of his 5 are maybe making their second, or at least 3 of the 5, I think, are making their second start in this race. So I don't know if that's going to matter. But just wanted to mention it.
1778 to the 9.
Beautiful.
I'll take that. Would be nice. We might be some cheering here live on the show. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about in this race? We're not going to talk about every horse, and we don't know who's going. But is there another horse?
Yeah, I thought the 6, Howard. If the 6 stays, I think that race was a little better than it looks on paper. I have in my notes that she really did all the running. It was a pretty good pace, 21-4, 44-1 in that Catch a Glimpse, one of the races that you referred to, as opposed to the other race that you said came up slower. Fractions 23-3, 46-4. So that Catch a Glimpse was a quicker race from start to finish. And I thought the 6 did pretty well.
By the way, JW, Paul, might need to get used to this. I'm not saying everything's going to be synthetic from now on, but JW, I understand some people don't like synthetic, but I also don't quite get it because it's just like any track. You just got to find the buys. You got to do your homework. The hatred with the synthetic. I like Woodbine. I like Presque Isle. I loved the cushion at Hollywood. To me, was one of the most fair services out there. I don't know. People are just going to have to adjust a little bit if there's more synthetics, but I don't know. I don't want to be disrespectful, JW. I hear you.
Let's talk about the form on the Gulfstream synthetic, Howard. If you want to go down that road.
What do you mean?
Well, the key, I think, is having synthetic as an option would be fine with the majority of people.
Yes, I agree.
But this is what Gulfstream did. That's what Gulfstream did. They said, we want to have it as an option. So if we have to go off the turf, and then what do? They're carting 3 races a day on synthetic, 3 or 4. So again, as long as we don't overreact, I would have no issue. I talked about this before. We might get to a day where we have a race being taken off the slop dirt onto synthetic in addition to the turf, which I could see. But there's, can we maybe have a balance between, someone put in the chat about Mark Casse. I think Mark Casse's tremendous. I like him a lot. I have ultimate respect for him. But to say that we're going to go out of business, that's about maybe 2.
Might be all right, Tom, right now.
Maybe 2. So anyway, it's not it's a discussion not for one day, and it's certainly worthy. Look at I was 30 feet from Maple Leaf Mel when she went down. Okay, so I can tell you how it impacted me and how horrific it was, and I was also there the second time on Travis Day for New York Thunder. So look at I get it, but we overreacted the first time. California said all tracks must be all synthetic. Right. Okay, so anyway, we digress.
I know we're going to move on to handicapping, but it's where I think you agree with what Matt Miller, both you guys. It's the bouncing back and forth between the services that's the issue. If we're stuck to one, it would be fine, but comparisons are tough when introducing a third service. The reason why Gulfstream's running a lot on synthetic right now, the PETA's course, their turf course is not ready to be run on. So I guess the question is, do you want 20 claimers running on the synthetic and save the turf course, or do you just want more?
Yeah, that'd be all right.
I think that's
be all right. I mean, ultimately, right? I mean, I don't want to belabor it. Ultimately, I agree with Paul. Where run on the turf. If you take off the turf, you go to the synth. If you have a really bad sloppy dirt, then maybe you do that. Even though that'll be tougher to bet. But real quick, I know we want to move on from this race.
Pete,
but we should talk quickly. Yeah, we should talk about the 3. Speaking of synth, going synth to turf. The 3's the favorite. I think I can't remember if anybody's 5-2, but close enough. And I mean, has been lights out in the last 2, but it's a hard horse to figure. You're putting on the turf, right?
Yeah,
really hard, Pete.
Yeah, I mean,
uncontested lead.
Back to the numbers, but I have no idea if this horse can get the mile. I mean, the turf probably, but he's an Ontario bred, beating up on nobody lately. I don't know. I'm using him. I guess you have to use him, right?
Yep. It's a tough call, Pete. You are right on target, my friend.
That's a tough one. And there is other speed in this race, so I think there could be speed but I mean, this horse could just be a monster, and we just don't know it yet. So we'll see.
No, for sure. I've got a 20-1 in second, by the way, and super attentive for Casse. He's another horse that I think will be better second time out, going a little bit longer. I mean, so it's a guess, guys. It's a really tough race. We don't know who's going to be in. We already spent way too long on this race. Let's go on and move on.
It's a good race, though. It's a real good race.
Great race, and one of those horses going to the Breeders' Cup, if not more than one. So we'll see. There's race 7 right now. Let me bring up on the screen. Race 7 is the Vigil, guys. It is for older males. Let me bring it up here. Right. Whoop, there we go. For older males, this is 6 furlongs, $150,000. You can see it's a field of 8, and I got to refresh this for the morning line. Sorry about that. Field of 8. The morning line faded. Here's a horse I know, a horse we know. Number 6, Patches O'Houlihan. Good old Patches. This is a horse, guys, that I'll bring it on screen. If you recall, I loved in the race last time and scored. Didn't really get a big price, but did end up winning for our Power Picks tip sheet subscribers. And you look at the bottom of the screen, you're like, Pete and Paul must be thinking, is there a misprint? Did Howard make a mistake? No, this is a total toss and fade for me today. But Paul, explain to everyone why you're going back with the 6 again. 7-5 morning line, a little low for my liking, for sure.
Well, I would agree with that, but I was impressed with the race. I have in my notes he was headed in the stretch and then rebroke and went back up top. You see the lead dwindled to a half length and then opened back up. And I think the main reason I'm using the horses out of that race, Howard, is 2 horses have come out of that race to run back. A win and a second, and they have improved their buyers by 15 and 9 points respectively. So I am betting that Bold Venture is a key race, and I'm taking as my top 2 horses who are coming out of that race.
All right, let's watch the stretch. 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Patches is on the lead. 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. And Pete, as we watch it, feel free to comment on anything we're going to see here. Patches gets the lead. We're not going to see that. Again, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Tell us what you see here, Pete. Here's Patches.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say there. Patches just sort of runs away with it. I'm looking at, I don't know, Paul, I'm looking for. So you see the 4. Yeah, you see, watch here.
Right here, it looks like he's in deep water.
If you bet the 5 there, you're like, oh God, I'm done at that point, right? And then I like the re-kick, and again, you don't know if it's attributable to just being better than the horses behind and just sort of outclassed them down the lane. The 4 maybe was a little, I don't know. The 4 has been having trouble. The 4. Oh, actually, who was the 4 in that one? That was the
4 was Last
American Exit, right? The 5 in this one. The 5 has a little bit of trouble sort of finishing the deal and likes to finish second. So you saw a little bit of that there. So that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. And the 5 is just one that seems to lose to a lot of these horses, but very closely. So you just don't know if that was the case. But you got to be impressed when the horse comes, when horses get that close and you're able to kick away again. I mean, usually only Bafferts do that.
Here's the deal, guys. I agree with Michael Lawson, and again, this one this is the great thing about this show, and I have so much respect for both you guys as handicappers. But this is what the fun part, and I agree with Michael Lawson. And let me just bring it up because I think Patches O'Houlihan got an unbelievable setup. I mean, you see what a big lead he had, guys, and he's fast and he's good, and it's amazing how you can love a horse one day and dislike a horse so much the next day. Let me just show you why, guys, and maybe I'll be wrong Saturday, but doesn't Rockcrest have to go from the inside with a 113 early time for him? This horse is fast and has to go, right? In my opinion, at least. Then you've got, of course, Patches, but there's another horse here. My Buddy B has a 119 time for him from the outside, and this horse has to go also in theory. So maybe Patches is going to get the lead, guys, but he's going to take a hell of a lot more pressure, in my opinion, than he did in the last race. I don't like him at all. I really like Outlaw Kid. I'm going with a fresh face. And, Paul, I love this conversation because I don't know how strong that race was. I know there's 2 horses came out of there, and I can't argue with it. But, we've talked about this before, guys. That race sort of bunched together at the end. I don't know. I think this horse, Outlaw Kid, has faced some really nice horses. I'm not worried about the fact he hasn't been on synthetic because turf horses like synthetic. He's been right there with Lucky Score, and he won last time. I love Kimura. I think he's going to stalk and pounce, and I'm going with Outlaw Kid. I like him actually quite a bit in this race to win. So I'm against Patches. I'm going to use him as a C, and we will literally see what happens.
Yeah, that's fair.
All I'll say about the race out is the horses who came back finished 6th and 8th. And they came back and ran 1-1 at Kentucky Downs and 1-1. Anyway, we're going to find out Saturday.
I mean, I hear you. Kentucky Downs, though, I was there.
Please don't get me started.
It's weird. So I don't know.
The other horse I really want out of there, Howard, the horse who was closing at the end is the 4 this time, Secret Reserve.
Agree with you, Paul.
I thought the horses right behind Patches hung a little bit, including that 5. I thought the only other horse doing serious running at the end was Secret Reserve, and that's why I picked him second in this race.
Paul, I've got him third. I agree. I think if the race falls apart, this could be the one. The problem is he's just slow, Paul. I don't know. But if it gets crazy, I think Secret Reserve is the one. Paul, I totally agree with you. Pete, any final thoughts? You got the 1 second, so you are just hoping the speed holds
I have
on,
all
he
three.
might
I
absolutely
have
be right.
all three speed horses.
It could be 6-1 around the track, Pete. I mean, it could be for sure.
I have all three speed horses. I have 168. They're all three the speed. I usually don't do that, but I'm hoping that one of them goes. I'm thinking that one of them actually goes. The other two don't go, and they don't all really hook up. And then we'll see which one. And I like the 8 because he's 20. Because he's 20-1, so I like having a price. But I mean, I'm with you. I like the 4. You talk about the 4, Paul. I think the 4 for sure is a nice underneath play, if nothing else. I'm not sure if he just doesn't seem to close races. Again, another one of those, but he definitely is one that could hit the board. And if you want to get a nice 15-1 shot, and I don't know if he'll get all of that 15, I imagine, just because there's not a lot of 1s and 2s on that form there.
I think so. We're gonna move on here, guys. By the way, Matt Miller, I did not play an ABC. I just did a little caveman, to be honest, like a $60 caveman. So Matt in the chat, I did not back up. I have no other horses. I completely did the 9 at Churchill with what do we got? 7 minutes left. All right, guys.
3 and 5, Howard. 3 and 5 are your main threats, but we move on.
Yeah, well, they're all main threats when you're live doing this. Aren't they? You worry about everyone, Paul, right?
Especially when you have the favorite. You worry even more when you have the favorite, if you're me.
For sure. Guys, let's talk about the next race here. The next race, another great race. This is the Natalma, the grade 1. This is a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf Race. $500,000. Monster. I mean, look at this. This is a field of 15. There's no also eligibles. It's a damn field of 15. And it's very tough. Again, some of these are probably going to go in race 6. We don't know yet. The morning line favorite, if this race holds together, which I doubt it will, is the Appleby from the inside that you mentioned, Paul, the number 1 Dazzling Star for William Buick, who's obviously here mainly to ride Master of the Seas, but also is going with a Dazzling Star here. Pete, let's go to you first. You're going to go. Well, we actually talked about Erosa, Pete. So if you don't mind, Pete,
we could skip that one. Yeah, we could skip that.
Let's go to Dazzling Star, who I don't have anywhere in the top few, but I'm using, and I'm assuming Pete's got third. Is it just the connections, Paul, or do you have more intel here on Dazzling Star coming in for Appleby?
I think it's a common. No, what you see is what you get. Just a maiden winner, but obviously the fact that Buick's coming, and as you say, he's coming to ride the other horse as well. But should we mention, Pete, the stat of the day? Is it time to unleash the stat of the day for Woodbine and
fire it up? Go ahead. You can fire that one up.
Charlie Appleby at Woodbine the last 5 years, 8 starts, 7 wins,
7 in a row too.
For an 88% winning percentage.
Okay, I got a question though, honestly, and we could look it up, but were any of those 2-year-olds, or were they all like your modern games? And
well, Howard, you know what I'm going to do,
because you are such a. It's worth. I agree. Right? Obviously,
we are going to look it up, Howard, because we have the technology.
Yeah, they are. Actually, two were in the summer and 2 were in the Natalma. So
4. So 4 of the 7.
So 4 of the 7. Yeah. So.
Okay.
He could do that as well. Although if you want to go just broader, he's 2 for 15 in the U.S. in 2023 so far. So he hasn't been as reliable as he was last year now. But again, I know for me, I mean, I put him in third more I meant more Appleby, but I put the horse in third more because of, hey, why not? I'm not gonna lose a pick 5 if an Appleby horse comes over and wins a race. That's basically the theory.
Paul, Blue Point was freaky, the sire, but he was a sprinter. Any concern on distance whatsoever, or you just figure Appleby's going to bring over the right kind of horse here?
I think the Euros, the Euros that run 6 over there can get a mile over here, basically. As a rule, I don't know about this one, but out of a Dubawi mare, so that should help mitigate those concerns.
Yeah.
Still one turn. It's still 1 turn too. So that.
I mean, I did use others. I did use others in this race. How the other horse I have is Stone Cold Single, but I did use a few others in this race, especially not knowing who's going to run.
You got ready to jam second, as does Pete, Paul. Ready to jam.
Yes. Yeah. Improving buyers. We talked about that Catch a Glimpse. This horse closed into that race, and Arosa did have the good trip in the stretch, so ran very well. This horse was way out of it and came had to maneuver her way through traffic a little bit, which I like as a 2-year-old. It's a Cassie. So I think the 8's a major player here. Yes.
Jim Pillars, who is a fan of Woodbine, of course, and lives not too far away. Foreign chippers, just like in the U.S., tend to dominate Woodbine on the turf. I agree. I'm not sure. Well, again, I have to look up the stats, but I feel much better about the older horses coming in rather than the 2-year-olds. Because in general, 2-year-olds in North America are just as good as the Euros on turf, at least, because they're pretty precocious. As they get older, guys, I want no part of Americans unless we're talking about Tepin or some, absolute monsters, of course. Pete, you want to? Well, actually, we just talked about all 3 of your horses. So
yeah, no, I mean, although I think on my pick 5, I went 8 deep, so I have a plethora of horses that I think have a shot to win this race. You like that, huh? Plethora.
Love that word. Plethora.
Yeah, it must have been calendar word of the day or something. I don't usually use words with that
means shitload, Pete. Right?
That does mean shitload. That's more my speed, Paul. That's more my speed. I'm more of a fuckload kind of guy, but I never say that on here. So.
You know what word I like, guys? Ozara. I like that word. This horse.
I like that horse too.
Ran well.
Look at the connections, by the way. Clement and Dylan Davis look familiar, Paul. That was the same connections of Carson's run.
Yep.
I like this horse, and I like what she did. I'm going to show the replay real quick. She beat Way the Risk, who came back and won for Klarovich. Didn't win by a lot, but did win. I really like what I saw here. And again, I'm just going to be very brief. She's the 10. She looks like a smaller filly, actually, but she made a middle move on the backstretch, guys. We're going to let me fast forward here. She's in these, like, on the inside here in these sort of green silks. You see how she's tugging, but she's not like asking. She's just doing this on her own, guys. This is not like the jock rushing up. I know it might look that way, but I don't think it is at all. She's just pulling on her own, rushing up, or not rushing up. She's doing it on her own. Look how she's waiting patiently in behind, and then she angles out, and she explodes here in the stretch. And you see she's waiting. I think it's Rosario. Like, I don't know if he's, doing this out of confidence or what. Starts asking and gets through the hole. And here's what I really like at the end, guys. At the very end, I'll show you what I mean. She takes the lead right here. When the 8 comes up, the Klarovich, watch this re-break, guys. Right here. This horse is never going by. I really like the re-break. I think that matters. And watch the gallop out as well. The Klarovich never gets in front of her. We'll see this, guys. To me, that matters. Now, people could say, Howard, you're looking at too, carefully. None of that matters. I've seen way too many replays, guys. I think it matters a lot. I think this horse likes to fight. I think she's tactical. I'm worried about the 12 hole. I'm definitely worried about the 12 hole, but I'm hoping, guys, she's not in the 12 hole. Okay, so I'm hoping she's going to be a little bit closer in. And then the 13, I actually watched the replay of Dia Matrona last time. I watched the replay from Strasbourg. This horse was 3 wide, uncovered, won very well, has tactical speed. I think the 13 is also very live. And these connections as well, Paul, this pick 5 racing ownership, they're very shrewd. So I don't know, maybe the Euro is just going to win easily. I'm going to be completely wrong, as the Churchill race, by the way, just went off. So I got to keep my eye on, as the 9 is a lot further back than I want right now. I can tell you that. But anyway, I think the outside horses have a big shot. And if you guys know what's going to happen, don't spoil it, because I'm watching on my phone. But anyway, I like the outside horse a little bit in this race too, the 12 and 13. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I thought, Howard, that for a first-time starter especially, that 12 ran really, really big. I'm glad you showed the race. The things that aren't easy to do, come from that far behind, wait, maneuver in between horses, and then hold off a Chad Brown horse who came back to win it 3-5 the next race. So
line up this 9. I need this 9 to come from the clouds. I don't know if he's going to get there.
This is the Diodoro horse, right?
Don't tell anything. Come on, this 9. I think he's blowing by. Come on, this 9. Go on with them. There we go. Hello, boys. Hello. There we go. Hello. All right.
Nice
Pete
work.
and Paul just got a raise. All right. There
And
we go.
I have the exacta.
All right. Woo. There we go. Matt Miller. In real time, people are going to be listening to this later like, what the hell's going on? What just happened is the 9 horse at Churchill won the last race here on Thursday at, was it 6-5? Came from the clouds, and I collected 1,700, which is, hey, happy. I'll take it for sure.
Beautiful.
All right. Thanks for all the cheers out there, guys. Noah. Thank you, Noah. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, let's move on, guys. Because you know what? I got to take some of that money now. I think my pick 5 just got bigger, guys. Okay.
That's
Just
20
got a little
cents
bigger,
too. It's 20. Hey, it's 20 cents. So you can splurge on a big one.
Which for all you inexperienced handicappers, what I just said you should not do. Which is now that I hit spend more money, bad idea, everyone. All right, let's go on, guys, to the next
big
race
one
here. Yeah, the big one, the Woodbine Mile. Let me go ahead and pull this off. Let me do this. Guys, there's not much to talk about here, is there? I mean, I guess it depends how good you think Master of the Seas is. Let me go ahead and banners. Here we go. We all got Master of the Seas. In fact, we're all going 1/4. Ice Chalk a lot in second. So Woodbine Mile, winning, you're in for the Breeders' Cup, guys. It's $1 million. It's only a field of 6. And I don't want to get into field size, but I think it's mainly because of Kentucky Downs, to be honest, guys. I mean, the purses were so insane. Why go out of the country for $1 million? And I think the word was out that Master of the Seas was coming. I've heard his name pointed to this race a bunch of times. Guys, I don't think this is like some kind of like ridiculous monster Euro. I mean, there's better milers in Europe, but based on what we've talked about, I mean, gee whiz, Pete, this horse just might be the goods again.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, and it's one of those too where you don't really have to be the goods necessarily to beat this field. You just
Yeah,
have to
that's
be
true.
better than the field, and a lot of times the Appleby horses are just better than the fields they're racing against. And I don't think of this as a very good addition of the Woodbine Mile. This doesn't come up. I mean, there's some solid horses, but none that really jump out. And Master of the Seas has run against some high quality horses, but you look 2 back, but I mean, those were a mile. That was a 1 1/8. 3 back, the loss was at a 1 1/8. When you go back to the mile races, there's a lot more wins there. And that last race was super impressive. And again, it wasn't the highest of quality races, but it's impressive. It's still Appleby. Buick's coming over for this. We see Appleby's record here and in this race. So logical, but not unbeatable.
Paul, I like the fact this horse has not run recently. I know some of these Euros, especially Aiden O'Brien, they ship over like in a few weeks and they run really well. I sort of like the fact this one has been given some time. And the one thing about this track, and Charles Appleby mentioned it in an article, Paul, this EP Taylor was such that really long stretch. The explosive move that a lot of these Euros have is just something that the Americans don't. And he's going to find time to explode. And it just feels like this particular configuration at Woodbine just suits these Euros so damn well.
Yeah, and it's more of a sweeping turn than a sharp turn, which means less chance of getting into a jam. Although I some of the Euro jocks that come over, I think, struggle to a degree, even really good ones. Buick is not one of them. He is really top shelf. Again, I think Pete hit the nail on the head. Yeah, this might not be the best Euro we've ever seen come over, but I mean, Cheryl Spate is run, has a win at Woodbine. Ran really well in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year behind Modern Games. I guess on her best day is a factor. His best day, I should say. But, Sea Cottage chucked it in the 4-star Dave without much of an excuse. I mean, I landed on the 4 just because I think either Casa Creed or Annapolis would be a solid choice in this race behind the Euro, or maybe even, with the Euro. So, the 4 Ice Chocolate was right there with them. The 4 is also a horse for course. 6 starts at Woodbine, 2 wins, 2 seconds, and a third. So I'm not gonna complicate this race. I don't like having the real logical as the only A or only single, but I'm not gonna overcomplicate this race in my ticket.
Pete, I think Ice Chocolate ran huge in the 4-star, Dave. I mean,
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of closing going on, and he closed in the clouds. He's getting good. If the one stubs his hoof, I like Ice Chocolate like you. I guess I understand the 5-2 morning line and Cheryl Spite, I guess, but that seems completely ridiculous to me. When his best races have been at Keeneland, that's where he got his two big numbers. He got the 104 and the 103 at Keeneland. Outside of that, I mean, what really has Cheryl Spite done at all? I don't.
Yeah. I
I don't
think
get it.
and you see the 1 for
Old
6.
1-4 exacta, right to the hoop, Pete.
And you see the 1 for 6 there at Woodbine, 1 for 6 at the distance. Yeah, there's some things I'm hoping Cheryl Spite takes the money. Cassie 1 for 38 in grade 1 races at Woodbine, so not exactly.
Really?
Yeah, that surprised me. Yeah.
Wow.
That was in the last 5, because if you look back to the history of this race, I think Cassie has wins, but they were prior to. I mean, we're only talking last 5 years, so just hasn't been as lucky, or hasn't had the right horse, or the Euros keep coming over now and taking the wins away from him in some of these races. So the only other horse I'll talk about, I thought the 6 is interesting as a long shot underneath, where sometimes the other horses try and win the race and can't compete with the big favorite, and then you get another horse long shot who's got a late kick, who always seems to be in the money, who could just maybe clunk up and get, you can get maybe a cold exacta 1-6 if you want to get a little frisky with a bomber there. That horse always runs. I mean, always runs a race, just doesn't always have the oomph to get there. But I mean, I don't know. Not the greatest betting race in the world unless you're doing something cold. Yeah.
Okay. Full disclosure. Trials B. I wish I did not. I actually played. I did play a little small pick 5. Not even. I just played a caveman, and I did not have the winner in the first leg. By the way, who was I'm trying to remember what the price. It was a price. It was like
12 to 1.
I had the other 4 legs, guys. Honest to God, but I did not have. I didn't have the first, so I did not hit the pick 5, everyone. So anyway, but I wish I had, Charles. All right, guys, let's go to not much else to say, right? It's Master of the Seas race to win or lose there for sure. Let's go ahead to the last leg, guys, as we close out the show. It's going to be a fantastic pick 5. There's our picks. We're all going again with the Uno from the rail. And this horse, guys, maybe this horse is getting good. I don't really know, but I'll tell you one thing. This horse will have the lead. The 1 will absolutely have the lead. We all see the same thing. It's the last leg of the pick 5. It's not the last leg. It's not the last race of the day, everyone, but it is the last leg of the pick 5 that we're covering, the big pick 5 for Saturday. It's allowance optional, 32 down to 30. Field of 8. More line favorite is the 1, JP Helsch, a Florida bred for Drexler and Savachi. And Paul, this horse just looks loose as can be. I guess the question is, can this horse repeat the same buyer number? Because before the last race, this 1 really didn't tower over anyone.
Yeah, that would be the concern. Although 2 works, so that should, that kind of works against the bounce a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that number does kind of come out of nowhere, which, well, he had a couple of 82s, but 95, 95 is another story altogether. But as you said, Howard, what's preventing him from getting a pretty easy lead Saturday?
Absolutely nothing. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Pete and Paul, right? This horse not going to run 95 again unless there's something. Well, I don't want to say. Unless there's something goofy going on, guys. This horse should probably run, mid 80s, right? I think that's what I'm projecting. But guess what, Pete? A low mid 80s probably wins this race. And again, he's going to be on the lead. And I saw, maybe, who's going to put pressure? There's blinkers on. The 6 looks like he could be up close, but he doesn't. He's got seconditis a lot. I don't know about the 6. The 8, who you've got, Pete, second, who I think is the one that I'm interested in the most to maybe win, even though I've got the 5 second.
But it's going to be coming off the pace, though. Yeah,
and it's run some 84s. But I looked back, Pete. The 8 has never run in blinkers his entire career. Now in his 27th start, he's going to put blinkers on. That's just weird to me. I don't really like that personally. But
No, and if you just, I mean, if you go just based on time form as sort of the barometer, the one has a 116, the 2 second horses are both 86. So that's a
right.
huge pace advantage.
Yeah.
So even if the one doesn't necessarily come home strong generally with that pace, it
Right.
still could just be just too far ahead and could just bottom the field out. And that's what I'm looking for. I wound up like in my pick 5 when we get to it, I went too deep just in case the one just dies for some reason. And
Yeah.
the 8 winds up, the 8's the one I like off the pace, but it's also not that great of a field. I just didn't like the race. I didn't like the horses. I wasn't really, nothing was jumping out. So I'm like, well, if the one just gets on the lead and wins, maybe that's just the answer in some of these.
Our chat, by the way, has been awesome. Jim Pilares, I respect Jim. Be careful on JP Helsch. There's a tremendous inside speed bias on the day of his August 11th win. Oh boy. Thank you.
There you go.
This is our viewers are awesome. I did not know that. Actually, he said August. Oh, is it August 11th? Yeah. That's interesting. That might have to think twice.
Although it still was an 11th. I don't know if it was an 11 length win speed bias. I mean, that's still a pretty impressive performance, even with the bias in your favor. Not to go against Jim. I'm just saying it's just hard to know if that horse can because it came out of nowhere, but it didn't come out of nowhere with no change. It came out of nowhere with a switch to a very high percentage trainer as well. So.
Guys, I much rather use this 5 than the 6. And I know, again, this is something I've been working on my handicapping. Frankly, I've been very good with this kind of thing, where the 6 looks obvious, guys, right? Like low 80s, but the 6 doesn't get the job done. You got the 5 who everyone's like, Howard, the 5 is running 73, 74. What are you talking about? But again, this 5 has the right to improve. He's only a 4-year-old. He could jump up to a high 70s, low 80s. I don't see why not. That was a slow pace, by the way, Pete and Paul, that he overcame last time and won by 4. So I don't know, but this is the one I'm interested. I agree with Jim that the 5 is much more interested in me with the upside than the 6 or the 8, although he looks slower on paper.
Yeah, I didn't like the 5, but I mean,
yeah, I could be wrong.
It's hard because the thing I didn't like was I don't like when a horse has to drop down, especially a maiden who's been a maiden for 11 races and then had to drop to maiden. But again, if the one just craps the bed, I think the race is wide open. So if you're going to take a shot, why not?
Yeah, no, it's tricky. That last race, I mean, you could easily just go 1-1 on the end of your pick 5, but that last race, I don't know, guys. Let's go ahead and get to our picks right now. We appreciate everyone watching. A lot of people watching, and of course, make sure you're listening as well later on this week. We appreciate those of you listening later on our audio platforms and watching. By the way, last week, guys, we had 1,300. We had a lot of people watching the replays. We realize there's NFL going on now, and the game just started, or what game? But anyway, we appreciate that's why we're going on a little bit earlier so we can get out of here and let people enjoy the NFL if they choose to do so. Our pick 5s, guys. Here we go. Strap it in. Everyone at home, be ready to write these down. Hopefully we can cash. And Paul, did you know this was a 20-cent pick 5? Because I had a feeling you maybe didn't.
No, mine's based on 50. I go with American denominations.
All right. Well, let's go to Pete's first. Pete's 20-cent.
Wild.
20-cent pick 5 ticket. 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 with 1, 6, 8 with 1, 3, 4, 6, 8, 11, 12, 14 with 1, 4 with 1, 8. So Pete is choosing on a caveman not to single either one of those ones. And again, last time we'll remind everyone, race 6 and race 8 are complete clusters because there are 4 horses that are cross-entered, and we have no idea as of this moment, Thursday here at 8:40 Eastern, who's going to run and where. Pete, your construction here, sir.
Yeah, and I use some of the cross-entereds in the first and third legs of the ticket, so presumably a few of these horses are going to go down, which is why I sort of blew it up. Normally for 20 cents, I wouldn't do a $96 ticket, but I figured I don't know who's in, who's out. I didn't single Master of the Seas because it was a 20-cent ticket only. I would single Master of the Seas on sort of be a lone A, and then maybe go with the 4 in that fourth leg. And then maybe in the last leg, again, I wasn't super confident in the 1, so I don't know if I would single there. And then in the second leg, I don't love the 6 patches. I don't love the 6 so much that I would single there either. And then in the 2-year-old races, I just think they're wide open. So I would love to catch a bomb. I feel like the second, fourth, and fifth leg have a chance to be pretty chalky, though. So if you're gonna make this pay anything, it's gonna most likely be in the first and third leg, which are pretty wide open.
Just to confirm, Darren Rodgers emailed me, guys, actually right when the show was starting, and he had a tech issue. So we'll get him back on. But Darren, if you hear this, I'll get in touch with Darren, but we'll make sure to get him on. But he had a tech issue between stuff going on there and StreamYard for some reason. Paul, let's get to your pick 5, which is only $27 on a 20-cent ticket. So, Paul, if you want to add some horses, feel free. But Paul's
you know what I might do? You know what I might do on a 20-cent ticket?
What's that?
Play the 2 Godolphins and play all in the other 3 legs.
Ooh, fancy pants.
Ooh,
just to quote you, Howard. Well, with no scratches, it would only be 140, and we know there have to be a minimum of 2 scratches in 2 legs, right?
Yes. Is that what it would be? So it'd be 140, huh? Okay.
140 with the numbers that are here.
The 1 and the 1. Just single the 1 in the third.
Yeah, play a Godolphin double.
Okay. You know,
now
Matt
I'm
Miller.
Locked into doing it. Whatever it costs, now I'm locked into doing it just because.
Normally, Matt Miller would be upset with you because he would say, why play the pick 5? Because you have to make sure you get through the other legs. But in this case, Paul, you're going to get the other 3 legs because you're hitting the damn all button the other 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not. No one's retiring on a 20-cent base ticket, right? So,
no.
But if you can get some, chaos. But anyway, I played
not
it as
with
if
your
it was
kind of spending money on lawn jockeys on stuff. You're going to need a lot.
big hit, by the way. Big hit. Cody is a big hit. Big hit.
Are you like selling tickets in the neighborhood? People are coming over.
Big hit. No, I have to improve the lighting. My wife's got some weak ass solar light out there. I need some electric powered spotlight
Get a real
on.
light. Get a real light.
Yeah, like a Batman kind of thing going. I like it. All right. Well, Paul, when you got the spotlight updated on your lawn jockey Cody, I think Pete and I would be very interested in.
Anyway, so back to my ticket. Yeah, I looked at the first leg as very much a spread leg. I went with my logicals individual. I spread. Originally I was going to go single in that third leg as well, but I do think if Dazzling Star does not win, I think the race is pretty wide open. I think kind of how Pete described the Woodbine Mile. I am going to single Master of the Seas. I'm not going to complicate that race, as I said. Yeah. And I'm 3 deep in that last leg, although I'm going to go back and too many people whose opinion I respect are talking about other horses, so I'm going to have to reevaluate. I don't like that race at all either. I'd love to be playing a big pick 4, starting with the 6th, but that's not on the wagering option.
You don't like the last race you were saying, Paul? Is that the one you were...
The 10th, yes.
Yeah, or our last, yeah. Yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence with it, to be honest, but we got to make some decisions somewhere.
Yeah.
Here's my pick. You guys know I'm singling. I mean, come on. You do know who I'm singling, right?
Matt, you got a single Master of the Seas.
Yeah,
no, it's not. Oh, he is. Oh, I thought you were going to be.
So, Paul, I'm sort of in your genre here. Like I'm 9 deep. Again, who knows what's going to... I'm 9 deep in race 6 and race 8. Guys, I have no idea.
Basically, the favorites, based on our tickets, the favorites are guaranteed to win the 6th and the 8th because we're 87 deep between us. So
I don't know how good the Dazzling Blue is. I mean, maybe I'm going to get she, right? Maybe she's that good. On paper, she doesn't look like anything, and she's going to be like 2-1 is the Godolphin. I mean, I don't know. I'm spreading a lot on leg 3, guys. I don't think that Godolphin has to win leg 3 at all. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11 with 2, 7 with 1, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14 with 1 Master of the Seas with 1, 5, 8 in the last leg. It's 97-20 My general thoughts, guys, and we'll end the show, let people go. And so I apologize. It's mainly me for a little bit of rambling tonight and digressing to different things. My main opinions, guys, are the following. Master of the Sea is going to be very tough, obviously, duh. I really like the 5, and I'm drawing a blank now. Shoot. What's the name of that horse? The 5 in the first
Zapper
leg.
in the last. Oh, which leg?
No, the 5 in the first leg.
The Go with Gusto.
Go with Gusto, I think we'll go with some gusto. I'm very interested in either race that she runs in, and then in the Talma, I like the 12 and 13. The Chad's the 13, the 12 is the Clement. If they can get the right trip, I think either one of those horses are interesting. And I cannot single the one in the last leg, guys, for all the reasons that we talked about. As we end the show, gentlemen, and again for the final time, my apologies to Darren Rodgers. I'm not sure what happened there. We'll definitely get you back on ASAP from Churchill Downs, and we'll get to hear some exciting things going on with Churchill Downs. I put the banner on the screen. Paul, final thoughts on anything coming up in your world? We got the Penn Derby next weekend. We got some great guests coming on. I'll just leave it at that. But Penn Derby's next weekend, guys.
Yes, I am happy to say a week from Saturday, I will be at Parks for the Penn Derby. And 2 weeks from Saturday, I will be at the Big A for the Vosburg.
Ooh.
So I'm on the road the next
Who's
2
running
weekends.
in the Vosburg? Anyone we know? I mean, what? Oh, yes. Good old Cody. That's 6 furlongs, right?
Vosburg, I think, is 7.
7, yeah, it's 7. I'm pretty sure. I thought it was 7.
Good workout.
Okay.
Good work at Saratoga yesterday, and I think all systems are going to be go. And I hope he's out to show the world that the last race was an anomaly.
I think
we
most
believe
of us
it
are
was.
fans of the show would hope that was just a little hiccup.
So so I'm looking forward to seeing our friend Jessica Paquette make history as the first female to call a Grade 1 race in the U.S. It will be the cotillion. It'll be the cotillion, appropriately a race for females, which she gave us the winner of last year, live from the paddock.
It might be more difficult to get her on live this time to give us a pick, but I bet you have the resources, Paul. I wouldn't. You can get up in the booth, right? I wouldn't count it out.
Let's not rule anything out.
That would be, Paul, if you get up into the announcer's booth, like between races, and get Jessica on, that would be amazing. That would be very cool. We'll see if we can work that out.
Hey, Paul, real quick, before we go, I was just going to say, have you heard anything about who's going to the PA Derby? Because usually that's a pretty big race. I don't even know who's going. Who's going?
First Mission, I believe.
First Mission's coming back. What do you got, Howard?
Mr. Visco.
Go ahead.
Reincarnate for Baffert.
Oh, that one I knew. I knew Reincarnate, but I don't know if any of the, usually it's a much bigger. It's got a little bit bigger name quality to it.
This time. I have not heard. I haven't seen anything else yet.
$1 million, right? I mean, that's usually a nice.
Let's see if anyone in the chat. Anyone in the chat? We still have plenty of people with us. Anyone know who's going to the Penn Derby? Not guesses like you guys actually know. If anyone knows,
it's the right time too. It's perfect spacing. Perfect spacing
for the
Breeders' Cup.
Classic. Yeah, it's fantastic usually.
Which is in 50 days from today is Breeders' Cup Friday, as noted in my tagline.
Ralph Conti, you can see Ralph there, Paul.
Ralph, say hello. Yes, Ralph. Yeah,
fine. Paul
although he's going to be, Ralph's going to be at Prax, so I don't know if that's like the ghetto version of Park. So I don't know.
I'll be there. I will be around the paddock and Winner's Circle throughout the day. Ralph, I'd love to meet you.
Wonderful. All right, guys. I think we're good. It's been an interesting show. Again, we'll get Darren Rodgers on another time. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. A lot of things going on. Ralph says yes. So, Paul, there you go. We want to wish everyone a tremendous amount of success this weekend. Of course, at Churchill as well on Saturday. Check out Ben and Booze on episode 39 from last night, Wednesday night. The boys did a great job covering Churchill on Saturday. And then we hope everyone, of course, crushed your bets this Saturday at Woodbine for the Woodbine Mile Day. For my wonderful co-host, Paul Halloran, Pete Visco, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 290 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I got about 1,778 reasons to get off the screen and start handicapping a little more for this weekend. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. And I need to get the brand up so I can end this the right way. Have a great evening. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.